Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to take a look at the Majin Power challenge for the Fighting Legend Vegeta event on DBZ Dokkan Battle Global. So obviously this is a pretty brand new challenge, pretty new category I guess to take on the stage with. Overall, I think Majin Power is one of the more limited categories in terms of good units. You have some really strong units and then you have some kind of weak ones. It's probably one of the more lopsided teams in terms of overall performance, and you could definitely have a much harder time depending on what units you have. So let's talk through our team selection and then we'll talk about suitable alternatives. So obviously as a lead we have the Buhan. We're running double Buhans because I think Buhan is probably the best lead still. You could run a full Majin Buu saga if you have the strength Majin Buu, but even then his lead doesn't include some of the really solid options that you can bring. So overall, although he's also a good alternative lead, he's definitely the second or even third on the list. I would probably use Tech, Evil Buu as well, just due to the fact that they both cover Majin Power. And Tech Buu, if you do have him, rather use him as the lead over Buhan, because remember he has 170% lead across the board, including health. So if you are using him as a lead on your side, you can always put physical Buhan in the team, and generally speaking it's kind of better. So that's it when it comes to leads. Obviously we're using Buhan as our lead. Should have used Tech Evil Buu, but you only realize the good tips after you've completed the stage. So alongside him though we do have Tech Evil Buu. Mine is at 55%, and he holds up more than fine. Takes a little bit of damage in the beginning, but once you get to that Buu, that Super Buu stage, once you get to even the Evil Buu stage, you're more than fine. Evil Buu, he reduces damage by 40%, which is decent. He's also got a medium chance of evasion, so he's quite okay defensively. And then of course we have the Super Buu, who reduces damage received by 50% and greatly raises his defense for 3 turns as well, which comes in handy because altogether it makes him out to be pretty strong offensively. So yeah, Buu looking very solid. I really like him. Even at 55% he holds up fine, especially since the last phase is AGL, but we've used Buu in the Fighting Legend Goku GT event, and he's taken attacks from the Int Super Saiyan 4 Goku, so he's really solid, to say the least. Then alongside that we have some pretty interesting side choices here. So like I said, the category is very wonky. We have a fantastic unit in the form of the Jinembu. Jinembu obviously got his Easy A as part of the kind of crossover characters, DB Fusions kind of event, and he's very solid. Obviously he has attack and defense of 120%, he raises defense on his super attack, and he has an additional attack and defense of 60% per extreme class ally attacking in a turn. He also has a medium chance of evading the enemy's super attack and guards all attacks within the same turn after evading a super attack. He also recovers 13% HP at the end of turn in which an attack was received. He's got decent links as well. Majin Power, Infinite Regeneration, Shattering the Limit, Shocking Speed. So overall he's actually a pretty decent option for this team, and he really does well, especially since this whole team is extreme. So you really are getting that full boost on him at all times. Then we have kind of just floating around in all his glory is the Tech Buu Super. So this guy's EZA was not too great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't too overwhelming. I think he could have had a little bit more in the way of defense, or at least stacking defense. But he's got a medium chance of evading the enemy's hit, he's got a medium chance to perform a critical hit, and he recovers 30% of his HP of damage dealt as HP. So overall he's actually not too bad. Especially since the final phase is AGL. Getting him to the final phase is your biggest issue. Getting him through that final end phase is kind of where things are really stressful, but beyond that, he's actually pretty solid. I find that he does pretty decently overall, and he's honestly not too bad, like in any way, shape, or form. So he can get hit for a lot, but when his evasion kicks in, he's fine. And then in the final phase, he's at least got that huge health recovery and a decent enough defense stat pool with the type advantage that he doesn't really let us down. Although obviously, could always do better. Then we have Strength Android 21, kind of a left field pick, I think. Overall, she's okay. She doesn't get a lot of her major links like Android Assault, which kind of really impacts her defense negatively, or Brainiacs, Big Bad Bosses. A lot of these links she doesn't really necessarily get, which is a little bit of a shame. But yeah, for the most part, she's still really solid. And I just think overall, you can definitely kind of run her. She's at a risk in the final stage. Obviously, it being an AGL unit is not great for her, technically speaking. Considering all of the various issues, I want to say, with being a strength type unit, taking type disadvantage from one of the hardest AGL bosses in the game. But she survives, and especially if you get a transformation, you can regain a large amount of health back, and you should be okay. I'm not saying you're going to be incredible, but you'll be okay. And I think that's more than fine at this stage. She does okay. She's serviceable throughout the event, because she does have 120% base stat. She gains an additional 21% when performing a super attack, an additional 21% when her HP is above 80%. So for the most part, you can get a decent enough buffs to really kind of elevate her defense to being acceptable. I don't want to say crazy, but to definitely be acceptable and decent. And then the final kind of major unit, I would say, is Bukalo, the AGL Bukalo. Pretty solid. Just a support, really. Recovers 15% HP, power absorption support. Has decent stats. I've got one dupe in him, and he sits at around 140 or so thousand defense, which is good. Medium chance of evading the enemy's attack, so he's very serviceable. If he just had greatly raising defense on his super attack, he'd probably still be super duper relevant for a lot of today's content, just because he provides such a good kit for this team. But yeah, so that's kind of my team in a nutshell. Now, in terms of alternative options, this is where things get a little bit interesting. So your three major alternative options, as in 3 units that if I had them, I'd probably put them in. Or geez, just the 2 major options. So Boo Kid Bubbity, I would definitely slot him in. He's a pretty solid unit. He has attack and defense of 120%. He has an additional attack of 100% and all allies defense plus 50% when HP is 81% or more, plus an additional defense plus 100% and all allies ki plus 3 and attack of 50% when HP is 80% or less, and he recovers 8% HP. He's a pretty interesting unit, just kind of a really good pseudo support for the category. Definitely would have been a bit better off than the Android 21, which is why I kind of suggest him. Just all those pseudo support abilities plus his own pretty decent stat base from his EZA and general stat pool kind of makes him a good option here. Then obviously the main one is the Margin of Destruction, Boo Kid. Obviously a unit that's pretty much on par with physical Super Saiyan 2 into 3 Goku. And I think a unit that would just single-handedly handle most of this event. The only hindrance against him is at the final phase is obviously AGL, but he's so good that doesn't really hinder him too much. My main issue is I just don't have him, so there's no real I want to say there's no real detriment. You can see here, by the way, how much damage Tech Boo takes. 147,000 on one of those normals, so that's a lot of fun. Obviously relying on him to evade, but yeah, a bit of a slight issue. So yeah, as I was saying, yeah, that strength Boo Kid, obviously a very, very crucial element to running and completing the stage. Just exceptional. Then, yeah, solid options, I want to say, like solid-ish options are going to be like the solid-ish options are gonna be like physical good Boo, Majin Buu good, so he's a decent option after his Extreme Z Awakening. Obviously he has attack and defense at 66%, gains up to 22% or 66% in total with each attack received, recovers 30% HP whenever HP is 40% or less, so a great heal to have on the team for dire situations, and his defense can get to a decent stage if you especially have him Rainbow. Then the physical type support, the physical extreme type support, Majin Buu, also decent. Obviously it's more his synchronization with the LR than anything else, but generally speaking he's serviceable. You could probably bring him in here, although he's a liability at the end of the day. Then in terms of some options, so options that could definitely lose you the run, but if you are short of units or you're looking to replace that Android 21, you can definitely use them. We're looking at the Strength Boo Super, so obviously he's a bit of an interesting one. If you get Go Tanks, it's going to be a very hard time, but if you get Ultimate Gohan or Piccolo as his transformations, then you're going to have an okay time. He's not too bad when that happens, especially since the Link level update kind of revamped him a bit. Piccolo probably being his best transformation for this stage, just overall. The other ones probably not being that great. Then you have obviously the Tech Boo, so the Tech South Kai Boo, who's okay, but again, once your health falls below the threshold, you're gonna have a bad time. But he's very good in this final phase, so if you get him to this final phase, he'll be very, very solid. And then obviously the Int Kid Boo as well, very similar story. If you've got dupes in them, you can definitely use them 100%, and yeah, he can be very, very, very solid. Especially offensively, he can do huge damage. Biggest issue is that the second to last phase is physical. That's not really great for him, because his defense, even with all the links and even with a lot of dupes, isn't wild. It's not bad, but it's just not wild. But yeah, so that's it for Majin Power. Overall, everything went fine. Final phase was actually quite easy. We had a lot of tech type advantage, so that did help us. Only really Android 21 was our kind of risk factor. And if you use items, she'll be more than fine, especially if she transforms. The amount of health you gain back really saves you a lot of trouble. So yeah, that's basically it when it comes to this challenge. Wish you guys good luck. Hope you obviously enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. I do appreciate it, or leave a comment if you need more help. And I will see you guys in the next one. So until then, take care, stay safe, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.